Okay, you guys, this video has taken me far too long to record. As you can imagine, I'm like sweating with all the implications that you guys can imagine of me doing this video. So I'm gonna do all the disclaimers in the section below in the notes. And I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna let you guys know what I did with my C-section scar, how I healed it. I'm going to use tools that I can link to, but there's also so many different tools that you guys can use. I just want to show you what I did from my experience. This is not medical advice by any means, but it helped me tremendously, and I just want to get the information out there for you guys. I know how much you're struggling. I've had so many interactions with so many of you that have complications and that are just looking for help from a friend to a friend. So imagine me being your sister and I'm walking you through what I did. So I'm gonna do it together with Arlynd. I'm just waiting for him to get the kids down. So again, I'm just gonna talk about my experience. And what I did first is just touched my belly. I think that there's so much connection and so much importance around touching your postpartum belly, just like you had so much love and so many people wanting to touch your belly when there was life in it. I think when there's life that has been taken out of it, I think it's just as important, if not more important, to touch your belly. So just to get reconnected and just feel all the different emotions that come up when you touch your belly, and then touching your scar. So this obviously is 5 years now postpartum, but I'll show you guys some pictures of the scar. What I just did is I just started touching the scar. I was taking the ASEA internally all throughout my pregnancy, and then right after I had brought it with me to the C-section, to surgery. So I took it right after I got out of surgery. And then even while I was still in the hospital, so like the second day or the first day, while I had all of my bandages on and everything, I just poured a capful of the liquid over top of everything. So, you know, I was laying on a towel and then I just poured a capful on it so that it would kind of drain and soak through. And then when I got home as well, I was just kind of doing a capful on it when I was allowed to shower. And then as soon as all the bandages came off, then that's when I started with the gel. So again, it feels weird to have like a 5-year-old scar showing you guys, but just for the sake of showing you, I just took like that amount and just put it even when the stitches were still in. Or actually, I didn't have stitches, I just had tape. So I just put it on like that, and I was totally numb, but just put it on like a few times during the day. And while I was doing that, just kind of massaging, gently massaging, again, just connecting, feeling all of the emotions. This was like months and months of emotions and layers and everything that Arlynd will be able to talk to you about, the different layers. And there's emotions that are stuck in tissue, and there's books written about it. I'm not going to explain it right now, but there's trauma that is stuck in your body, there's sadness, there's all the emotions. So touching your belly is huge, touching the scar is huge. So I went from touching it to gently massaging it more and more, just getting like in there as much as you can too, just really getting into just the beauty of it, the miracle of it, all the feelings. And then I went to probably, okay, so this is gonna be harder to show because I have to lower this quite significantly to make it stay. Okay, so this is what I did. Everyone's gonna be different. I started at 6 weeks, but everyone's healing process is different. So just make sure you use common sense on how much it hurts. You don't want it to hurt like crazy, but it is gonna be uncomfortable. So what I did is I took some oil. You can use whatever oil you want. This is incredible oil, healing oil. But I took a little bit of oil and just put it over the scar like that. And then I used a Gua Sha tool. You can use a Gua Sha tool or a Graston tool. And I just started at the end of one side. It's hard to like see it and do it. I started gently at the end of one side and just went over the scar. So remember, my scar was raised. It's really hard to show it once it's healed, but the actual scar was raised, so it felt like a rope. So I just went along that rope and just gently kind of started to work at it. not hard at all at first. So just kind of did some strokes like that. And with that, you can also be doing those affirmations, thanking God for modern technology, thanking him for medical intervention, thanking him for, well, whatever affirmations you want to say. You can talk about yourself, you can talk about your body, but just what a miracle it is that your body was able to do this. So you can do small strokes like this, or even do long strokes like that, because what's really good too is if you incorporate your scar into your actual tummy massage as well. So doing those long strokes like this, and then doing it as a massage, just getting all of those things moving. And just, so this is why I'm not a fitness instructor, because it's so hard for me to talk. And remember, everyone's healing journey is going to look different. Everyone has a different story, a different experience. My experience was I got pregnant right after my mom died and was not expecting a C-section at all. I was a home birth advocate for my whole life. My mom had all 4 home births. I had my first child as a home birth, and I just was not, I'll share my story of my C-section. I've done a few podcasts around it, but I had placenta previa, so it was a planned C-section. And so my journey of healing was different than somebody who might have more of a traumatic C-section, an emergency C-section. So just for lack of a better expression, just honor your own journey and know that healing will come. Your body is made to heal and everyone is unique. So for me, I had no idea, because I didn't really do a lot of research around C-sections. I had no idea that I would be numb. I just didn't think about that at all. But I was numb from probably my belly button all the way down to below my scar. And a lot of people too who have had C-sections told me that they didn't know that either. We're not educating ourselves enough as we should. Anyway, I digress. But now I don't have any numbness. I have full feeling everywhere. And I think that's just because of the work that I've done on it, just bringing a lot of blood flow back into that area and healing that scar tissue. So again, with every time that I did this for months and months and months, and I wasn't ready to actually go deeper, to have Arlynd work on it or to go deeper until I was maybe 6 months after my C-section. So I'll have Arlynd kind of talk through the non-emotional part of it, because I'm talking a lot about the emotions. Like every single time that I did this, a new layer of emotion would come up, a new layer of healing would occur with whatever I was doing, whether I was doing the longer strokes or the shorter strokes. But what you really, the real healing, like the physical actual healing came, the emotional healing came as well, but the physical healing came when I started to go in deeper and actually break through, almost even breaking through the skin. So again, I can't show it because my scar is flat now, but my scar was like a rope. So as I was breaking through that rope and really getting into it and causing more damage, and Arlynd will be able to explain it better, but I was causing more damage to it. And then the healing came afterwards when I was even breaking through the skin and it looked like it was like a fresh scar almost. Then that's when I put on more ASEA gel on that scar, that healing scar, because it scabbed actually. And after the scabbing was done, then it was flat. So again, not medical advice, but this is how I did it, and I'll let Arlynd explain a little bit more around that healing process. So I'm gonna grab the phone. Okay, so I'm also gonna show you guys what Arlynd would do if he was working on a fighter on scar tissue. So it's a very different thing to think about a fighter, but I love to call myself a warrior, and this is what Arlynd would do on a warrior scar. So go ahead.
Well, let's just set the record straight. If you've had surgery and you've given birth, you're a warrior. But I look at it as, if you've gone through surgery, you're already a warrior just going through the process. And now this part of the process of healing, That's a big part of being a warrior.
Okay, the kids are awake, so we have to do this quick.
But I want to keep it really simple just so it makes sense instead of technical.
Yeah.
If we look at a cut, you know you're cutting through multiple layers. And when that happens, healing has to come back in multiple layers.
Mm-hmm.
And how the body works, and I'm going to keep this short so I won't put you to sleep with it. The body works and wants to put these tissues back together. But if we looked at it like a piece of duct tape, most people know what that kind of looks like. Duct tape has fibers that cross over like this. So if I pull on it and move it, it's got this flexibility to it. But if I take that duct tape and I do this to it, right here, now obviously those fibers have a tear and everything around it still works, but this is separated. How do I get this back together? How the body kind of does this in this first stage is kind of like taking crazy glue or a glue gun and gluing those fibers and then putting them back together, and now they're stuck. But they don't have that same flexibility as the ones down here that didn't get torn. So this will all still move, but this doesn't. It's rigid. So if you can kind of have in your mind right along your scar, wherever that scar is, that's how that tissue forms back. It doesn't have that flexibility to it because the body has used certain cool materials to glue gun this back together to fix the damage, but it's left without having much elasticity or flexibility to it.
Okay, and at some point we're gonna do a video with Arlynd doing ozone needling in there because as you can see, it's still totally able to move up, but when you move it down, then it puckers like that. So I'll try and film an ozone needling video as well.
Well, here's the thing. Angie said a few times already, there's so much emotion attached to this specific scar. Also with breast augmentation, reduction, whatever, those areas for a woman, obviously specifically, there's a lot of emotion attached to that. So it's not just like turn the brain off and get in there and, hammer. There's an approach to it that's I think Angie does a good job of explaining that. Be kind to yourself in the process and understand that it is a process. It's not a procedure. And I think that's a good distinction to kind of remember. This is a process that isn't, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to take care of this procedure and I'm done. It's not. It's a process that continues to have regenerative healing happen every time you go back and do what Angie's showing you and what I'll show you. But hopefully it makes sense with this healing and these tissues coming back together, how the body continues to form this beautiful structure here. We want to make it now kind of reverse back to what that duct tape feels like. And there's movement and flexibility. And that's where the tissue starts to become less raised and more flexible. So without going too much more into that, the main thing that I'm trying to do is take off the excess material that the body has used as glue to continue to make sure those fibers are all put together and strong. So I have to come in using something that is a very slippery surface because I don't want to irritate the skin. I'm actually doing something more underneath that first layer right now. Sorry.
It's okay.
Gotta have a paper towel.
We have a very mature audience, so it's fine.
So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking the skin and just moving it to help create a little bit of tension where some of those fibers are holding on and not allowing there to be flexibility. So I'm going to put a little tension one way, and I'm just going to help by releasing some of that fibrous tissue with a Graston tool or a Gua Sha tool. So I'll take this. I'm basically going to help this, and you can see the amount of pressure. It's not light, but I'm also not trying to create another surgery by going so deep. But as soon as you feel the buildup that you will, it'll be lumpy in here. So our goal right now is to just take those lumps and minimize them, not make them disappear, but minimize them. And what I'll show you once I'm done, one pass through here, and Angie will be the first to tell you, she's the one that will know where there's more scar tissue. Obviously, I feel it, but when it's your body, you know. And that's kind of the nice thing about this is you're not just having to trust somebody else to know what they're doing. You're the one in control of where you're working to minimize some of that scar tissue. So in the beginning, when we would have first gone through this line right now would have been red and almost purple. Because what we're doing is we're stimulating a lot of circulation and we're creating some breakdown of that tissue. But that's what we want. We want a little bit of an inflammation response, and we want to be able to break down the tissue so it heals back, but not in this original way that it healed. We're going to continue to minimize, and bring more flexibility to it. So Angie said if it was an MMA fighter, you can see how this is, becoming a little more red. Like I said, this line would have looked like a bruise probably almost already. And you can always see where tissue needed to have some work is going to be that red inflammation, red blood flow. But yeah, you can see we haven't done this. And like I was saying, if I just pull the tissue one way.
Well, because look at how raised it is here.
Yeah.
Compared to where you didn't do it here. So that just means more blood is rushing to the area to heal it, right?
Yep, exactly.
And I've done so much mental and physical connection training over the last 5 years. Like, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of this C-section scar. And it's so cool to just feel the healing that I've had, because I'm able to separate this. This isn't emotional for me anymore. This is just a sensation, which you never would have heard me say years ago. But it really is a sensation. There's no connection to it other than healing. But it is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you don't want to do this for 30 minutes straight. It's very, very uncomfortable. But discomfort for me equals healing. And it's not a negative thing attached to it. There used to be, but there's not anymore. Now it's a very positive experience. And I'm just going back to these areas that definitely have some fibrous areas that need to be broken up still. And once we do that, if you've had an ankle injury, a lot of people can relate to an ankle injury. After you injure that ankle, the first few movements are just like, oh, not fun. But one of the things that we're told with an ankle injury is how soon after the healing starts taking place can I start doing the alphabet with my toes, start getting some movement there. The point is, don't leave it in a locked in position, because as the healing happens, you're not allowing movement to happen and having those tissues be able to have some flexibility to it. If you don't do those kind of things, if you don't do this kind of a therapy, or just even some kind of soft tissue, you're going to have an ankle issue, because it's not going to have the same tensile strength. It'll basically constantly roll, right? It'll constantly be a sprained ankle problem. And if anybody's had that, you know that. You do a little step sideways and all of a sudden, tweak, ouch, right? Because it's not ready to take any kind of stress. This fast forwards that ability to take stress and have some movement there without it having a breakage. So that's why we want to keep going back to this stuff. Get this stuff to a point. And I think if I can show this, on this side specifically, this was where Angie had a little bit more of a raised portion, and you can still feel that underneath, but watch when I let go here. Just zoom in right into that, okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay, now watch. You see how this is raised right here? And this is raised here. Maybe you can't see it there.
See it.
Okay.
Hold on.
A couple little areas that have, it just is a little more raised and inflamed.
Trying
But
to show.
you come back to it.
I can kind of see it there. This is a very professional video job.
Anyway, let's take this off now.
And now is where you put the ASEA on it.
Exactly. As soon as we get rid of the lotion that we have on there, you want to put ASEA on it right away, because remember what we're doing with ASEA is increasing cellular communication. So healing just happens a lot faster than if we just let that happen on its own. So our bodies produce redox signaling molecules. So it's not that we don't have any, but we want to increase that, especially right at this site. So now we're going to do that 3 times in about 5 minutes.
Okay, so this is after the first application. But while he's doing it, it really hurts. Like again, pain is different for everybody, right? But the sensation of it is uncomfortable. But now, as soon as it's done, it's already like whoosh, 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 and just feels really warm and feels like it's healing. I know the process of what's happening, and it feels really, really good. So anyway.
I just want to remind people, it's a process. It's not something that needs to be a one-time thing that you've done everything in one time. So like puberty is a process, like my voice right there. I am looking forward to knowing what a man voice feels like.